Hi, and welcome to this demonstration of the AE-G12N meat grinder. My name is Eric Shoemaker, and I'm the product manager at American Eagle Food Machinery. Today we're going to go ahead and show you all the different little pieces that go into the AE-G12N. We're going to show you how to properly assemble the machine. So let's go ahead and get started, and hopefully this will give you a better idea of how the AE-G12N meat grinder from American Eagle actually works. Alright, the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and talk about all the different pieces that are included with the AE-G12N. First we have the 1 horsepower motor. Next we have the grinder head. This is the T-chamber. We have the spiral auger, a standard number 12 meat grinding knife, 2 pressure plates. One is a 6mm and one is an 8mm. We have a coupling ring, which is used to hold the entire grinder head assembly together. Next we have a feeder pan, and we have a meat pusher and a sausage stuffing tube. And lastly, of course, we include the operations manual for the AE-G12N and also the AE-G22N, which is our 1.5 horsepower model. Next, let's talk about how you actually put the machine together and get the machine ready to start grinding meat. Alright, so let's get into the assembly of the AE-G12N. The first thing that I would like to note is that the motor is actually unplugged. We don't want to be assembling the machine and the grinder head and have perhaps the motor turn on in the middle of assembly. We're dealing with knives and augers. That's a good way to lose a finger. Let's just be careful and put this machine together and then plug it in. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the T-chamber right here. So we're going to put the T-chamber into the meat grinder motor, and it fits in just like so. You'll notice that there's a little peg on the top of the T-chamber that fits directly into the hub right here. And you'll also notice that there's a divot right here in the T-chamber. This is for the thumb screw, so that once the T-chamber is actually into the motor, you can actually tighten and make sure that it's secure to the motor. Next, we're going to use the spiral auger. I'd like to note that there's a Teflon washer on the back of this spiral auger. This is to keep from the T-chamber and the spiral auger metal grinding against each other. We don't want pieces of metal ending up in the food that you're eventually going to cook and eat. So this is a very important piece. If it's not on the grinder head, or if it's not on the auger, we don't recommend that you would ever actually use the machine until you actually get a new Teflon washer. So let's go ahead and get that secure into the machine. Alright, looks like we're in there. You may have to wiggle it around a little bit, rotate it in manually as it sits in there, because the actual hub is a square, and you have to actually make sure the corners line up properly. So let's go ahead and get that back in. And there we are. The next portion is the standard number 12 grinding knife, so we're going to go ahead and push that on top of the spiral auger, and it looks like we're all set there. And now you get to choose whichever plate that you would like to use. I'm going to go ahead and use the 6mm plate. We also have the 8mm here. So I'm going to go ahead and place that over top. You'll notice there's a little divot in here as well. There's a little peg right here at the end of the T-chamber that makes sure that the pressure plate doesn't actually rotate as the auger's rotating. So going to line that up, and one thing you'll notice is that the pressure plate does not actually become flush with the T-chamber. That's by design. If you actually find that the pressure plate is flush with the T-chamber, there's probably something wrong. You might have to see if either the knife isn't fitting in properly, or if there's a Teflon washer that's missing. So that's a red flag if that pressure plate goes all the way in. So next we're going to use the coupling ring to actually secure the grinder head together. So let's go ahead and put that on. Alright, so it looks like it's pretty tight and secure. One thing that I will note is that you want to actually make sure that it's tight, but not too tight. We want to actually make sure that the knife can rotate and the auger can rotate. So once it's tightened, loosen it up a little bit. Make sure that, there's a little bit of leeway here. So there we go. And it looks like we can now feel a little bit of movement in there. Last thing is we're going to add the feeder pan onto the top of the T-chamber. Now the feeder pan should fit pretty securely. You might have to use a little bit of pressure to push it down, but once you have it in, it's actually going to take quite a bit of moving around to actually get it to move. So that's by design. So alright, so that's it. Let's go ahead and plug the machine in and see how it sounds. Alright, we're all set. That sounds pretty good, so. Again, this is Eric Shoemaker, and I'd like to thank you for watching this demonstration of the AE-G12N meat grinder from American Eagle.